We got 2 minutes till we are starting Clam Chatter. Thank you guys for coming in the room. I think my co-host is coming, but if he's not, we don't need him. Logan. One minute. Okay, guys. You getting ready? I'm ready. Let's get some people. Let's get some intimacy going. Yeah, I'm excited too. It's the time. It's the time and the place. Okay, guys, welcome to Clam Chatter here on Wednesday night. I'm so glad you're here with me. It is going to be a great intimate show. We're going to learn things that I don't even think that you're clued in about, because some of our stuff around intimacy is often unnoticed. We don't know how to connect, and especially don't know how to connect today in this pandemic. So I am looking forward to our hour tonight with Dr. Lee Moore. And she says her name better, Dr. Lee Moore. She's Israeli. She has a PhD in sexual health. And I think that we all know that that is something that we should tap into, especially if we are home with somebody that we are connected to, or even wanting to connect to someone. So I've had kind of an interesting, day today. And so I'm looking forward to this. I have a little bit less energy today than I think I've had some of the other days that have gone by. And it's just, I don't know what it is. I think now the weather's getting good here in Colorado, and it's making us kind of want to go out, yet we're also trying to shelter in place. And it's making it tricky. And there's that moment where some of the places are opening. So do we let our kids kind of go out and do the 6-foot thing, but maybe together, whereas a lot of us have been at home? And I'm just feeling I'm feeling low energy tonight. Yes, Samantha, everything is better when the sun is out. So I am hoping that our guest tonight can maybe spark something in me that'll make my night more exciting, and maybe yours more exciting as well. And maybe we will use some of these tools. There's things that we're going to discuss that are probably new to you. And I'm just going to bring her in. I don't know where Sug is. Sug, like, where the hell could Sug be? That's the question. And I think I'm going to lock him out because he's late. But I'm going to bring our guest up because she's a lot cooler than Sug. And I am going to introduce her, and I'm going to say her name. I don't know why I'm sabotaging a name that is not difficult, because it's Dr. Lee Moore. Come on up, grab a spot, and then we can have fun connecting and talking about what we're going to talk about. See, it's not even difficult. You guys can even see it. Hi,
exactly. Don't worry about it.
It's just funny because I don't know what the trick is. Okay. So my co-host is sort of yelling that his internet might be messed up, but it doesn't matter. We don't need him. But if he appears, he's always an extra special.
Well, that would be fun, yeah. I mean, because we can have the perspective of both genders.
Yes.
Which is necessary, as we know. So, yeah, but let's just start,
We'll figure it out. Okay. Summer said she's here if you need me. Okay. Okay. So we have some other women who can pop in anyway. But, okay, I want to get started. First of all, tell us what you do. And I know you're born in Israel. I kind of want to hear the whole thing here on Clam Chatter tonight.
So what I do, where I'm from, just to glance over it, because I don't want to, there are more important things than my background to discuss tonight, I'm sure.
I don't know.
essentially born and raised in Israel. I served the army. I did the whole thing that every Israeli is in mandatory service doing. And my background in terms of education is I have a bachelor degree in psychology. I have a master's in public health, and then my PhD is in human sexuality. And so obviously it was the most important and fascinating part. But I have to say that when I graduated and I finished my PhD many years ago, the road or the path towards connecting between spirituality and sexuality were not there. I mean, it wasn't really that accessible. I didn't really understand that it's a necessity. I didn't really understand that it has such a big impact on your practice on a relational and sexual level. And I can say even today and all the way to the end of my career, many years from now, I'm sure without a doubt that I'm gonna expand my knowledge because I learn from my clients. And this connection between spirituality and sexuality or relationships, I have to say that I learned from seeing how the actual Western practice alone, when it's isolated from anything spiritual, is not workable for people, or at least not sustainable.
Right.
Maybe we can find a solution. The Western view is very reductionist kind of thing. So if I have a pain somewhere, let's treat the pain. Let me take an example that is very prevalent and unfortunate. So for instance, if a woman suffers from, I don't want to jump to with the heavy guns immediately, but from a problem called anorgasmia, which is very clear what it is.
Yeah.
In an essence, unable to achieve climax, which is very common for many women. And that happens both when she's trying to pleasure herself or in a situation with her partner. She just is unable to get there. So immediately, if she'll go into any Western practice, she'll probably be advised to take some form of a pill, or maybe practice some form of, working on her muscles or something of that sort. Maybe something that has to do with the physical, because we always go there in the Western society or the Western view of our functionality. But if you go and take this woman, for instance, and this is based on science, obviously, if you go and take this woman and put her in a placebo-based trial and give her nothing but a sugar pill, but tell her that she'll be able to achieve a climax via this sugar pill, she will. So what happened? What happened there?
Wait. Really? Okay, wait. Okay, we haven't even gotten into so much, and we're already talking about this. We went right to the orgasm. Now, before so don't you think that women will achieve orgasms from themselves more easily than from a partner?
Go. For sure. No question about it. That's also statistically based. And I have a lot to say about it, but again, I want to pace myself. So, but I give an example of a woman that is unable to achieve it not by herself nor with her partner. Okay. So the woman is anorgasmic. She's unable to achieve a climax. But when she sits in a lab and being given a pill that is not really a pill, it's a sugar pill, she's able to achieve climax.
Okay. So she's able to achieve climax. Is she touching herself at the lab?
Is she touching herself? Yeah, at the lab. Yeah, there are trials in a lab that you're supposed to masturbate. Yeah, it's a part of it. Or that you're being stimulated by a machine or other things of that sort.
Okay.
So I know it sounds too good to be true.
That's an interesting situation that you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are very well versed in figuring out how to do this in a more intimate, connected way, right? Like, is it all in the head? I want to get into this. So, let's start with what is intimacy?
That is a great question, because we speak about intimacy, and we'll go back to this woman and we'll see what happens.
I want to know what's going on with this woman. Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But essentially, the idea of intimacy is very, very problematic to kind of define, because we speak about intimate health intimacy. We all try to achieve intimacy. And we use this word also in like a very casual manner. Like if you want to talk about whether people had sex or not, you said we weren't intimate. But is this intimacy sex? It's a big question, because if it was sex, and if you look at the dictionary, I want to tell you what it says. So it says intimacy is close familiarity or friendship, as sexual intercourse, as what we said, or as closeness of observation of or knowledge of the subject. So that's the definition by the dictionary.
Okay.
So let's put aside the idea of sexual intercourse, because if intimacy was only sexual intercourse, then we weren't different from the animal kingdom. We
Right.
wouldn't have, only humans have intimacy. Why? Hi, Sue, you're upside down.
Dude, you're upside down.
What are you doing?
Oh, there's right side up. I think he is having internet problems. Can you see it? You look.
Yes. Hi. Very, very nice to meet you.
I think you're all messed up.
I still look
Messed up.
You're messed up. All right, keep talking. He'll figure it out.
Okay. So, as we said, sexual intercourse. He's completely no. So, sexual intercourse is not it, because if we were. If it was intimacy, then all the animals were intimate, but that's not the case.
Right.
So the reason I gave the definition by the dictionary is because there's a little section there talking about the knowledge of the subject. And that is exactly what the connection to Kabbalah. Because by Kabbalistic teachings, and I'll go to the beginning of it, but I'll just touch it now. By Kabbalistic teachings, real intimacy is to know somebody. And that's the term that is being used in the Bible, or in a biblical verse.
Okay.
So the idea of knowing somebody is merging with this person's soul, in a sense. So it's not only on the surface, because our body is our body. That's great. But our body is not the source of pleasure or pain. This is going back to this woman. Her problem, her inability, her pain, her discomfort is not based in her physicality. Is based in something much deeper than this.
Okay.
And this is why she was able to achieve it in a setting that tells her, oh, you can achieve it, and not in a setting that her body is trying to achieve it via different forms of stimulation.
That's kind of amazing. To me, I can only compare it to one of those sleep places where they make you do a sleep test and they're watching you do this. So I thought I was pretty versed in lots of sexuality stuff. I didn't know that people could go to a lab to figure this out.
There's plenty of experiments that have to do with sexuality. I mean, this is how we find solutions to different problems.
Right.
Essentially.
I guess that is exactly right. So this woman was given a sugar pill, she had an orgasm, and then were you able to figure out some deeper layers of stuff with her that helped her in relationships later?
So once we experience something, it's very interesting, because once we achieve something, our state of mind kind of acknowledges, or our soul, or our inner being, in a sense. And I don't want it to sound esoteric, because it's not. The connection between our mind and body is very immediate, as we all know. And moreover, more than our mind, but our subconscious. So essentially, if I get you through an experience that you actually achieved something, it doesn't seem like inachievable at this point. You know you can achieve it. So now your body will accordingly react. So now you can do it on your own without any help from a lab. Because a placebo effect is only a placebo effect because you believe that it works.
Okay, so if somebody has trauma and they come to you, they have trauma, they're having trouble being intimate with somebody, how would you work with them so that they could become more intimate and enjoy, sex and intimacy or anything like that? Like, how do you do your work with a person like this?
With a person with PTSD and other forms of trauma.
All sorts of things, yes. How would you do the work?
Essentially, I want to explain that all our dysfunctions, difficulties, pain, when it comes to relationships, but in general, but in particular, when it comes to sexuality, all our experiences are based on some form of trauma. If you think about it, it can be a trauma that I was caught masturbating at a young age, or it could be a trauma where I was abused. I'm going to the extent, to the different polars of this experience.
Right.
But it can be anything, essentially. All our difficulties come from something that we experienced that left a mark. Now, the idea of, I'm not Freudian, so I'm not going to have somebody lay on my sofa for 3 years and figure out that I'm going to tell them, you know what, I figured it out. You have a sibling rivalry.
Right.
And then the person is going to tell me, I don't have siblings, I'm an only child. Or something like that. So, because it doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with their past. Yes, it's sourced somewhere, but that's not the solution. The solution is to actually get this person to understand two things. First of all, that they have the full ability to solve their problem, the complete ability to solve their problem without any help from someone else or external, that they can do it themselves. And also that that particular pain that they have can be eliminated if they go into, if they use mindfulness in other ways. Now, mindfulness is not an esoteric, as I said, term. Right. It is well based in who we are, because yes, we have these bodies. We are, physical creatures, but that doesn't mean that we're unrelated to what is inside. I mean, something is moving. You're not only your body. Something is actually generating this body. Something is telling your legs to move one after the other. Something is telling you, there's a little voice that speaks to you. Who is it? What is it? That's your consciousness. That's your ability to understand things. That's your, inner self, or in Kabbalistic terms, your soul.
Okay.
And the levels of souls, but we can talk about that a little
Okay,
further.
so you're using the word Kabbalistic, and I think many of us have heard of the Kabbalah stuff from Madonna. And I would love to hear, your definition, how it relates to Madonna, and how this works. And before that, Sug, if you want to try grabbing a spot again, go for it. If not, we will address questions on the left. Here on Get Vocal, we have an interactive platform so people can grab a spot and ask questions. And if you guys would like to do that, let me know or pop right in. And otherwise, keep asking questions also on the left here so we can address them. But yes, let's see. Sug's trying to come back in.
Yeah, let's see if his head is up.
Yeah.
Oh.
We got you.
Hi, Sue.
Oh, that was brutal. Let's hope I stay this time.
I know.
Well, now you sound good. Okay.
How are you doing, Dr. Limor? Limor. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Look at you, so pretty.
All right. Look at her. She has a lot of information.
Okay.
Thank you so much, you guys. So let me jump into your question.
Yeah, the Kabbalah stuff. Go for it.
Yeah. So Madonna, I think there's a lot of respect that should be given there, and not on the basis of whether you like her, you don't like her, whatever, and the idea of what she does or this and that. The idea of making Kabbalah a more kind of accessible or sexier thing is enough, or to bring the acknowledgement of that being some form of philosophy or some form of tool that you can use for your spiritual enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to say how I feel about Kabbalah, because it's very hard to kind of explain. There's many explanations, and I can tell you right here and now that even though I'm being someone that is practicing this on a regular basis and everything, if you ask some rabbi in Israel, in Tzfat, in one of their religious sectors, he'll spit on the floor in light of me practicing this.
Wow.
Because, whoa, no. But that's okay, because there are many practices of Kabbalah, and the idea behind the Kabbalah Center and Madonna is that they made it accessible for all cultures, for all religions, for all practices, all genders, all anything, all races, everything. And this is what's good about it, because you don't have to be Jewish, You don't have to be a man. And in the past, it used to be a man over 40 with a family, all sorts of things like that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. And you can use the tools that Kabbalah, and this is a good time to explain how I feel about this. So essentially, Kabbalah, or Kabbalah is the right way to say it, is a wisdom, and an ancient wisdom that you can actually take and use to your advantage to do whatever it is you want to do in terms of spiritual growth. Okay. And that spiritual growth can provide a solution for anything that is tangible, that is physical. So we take from both worlds, and I can show you on a board later how it looks like. You know, when I try.
I'm interested in the board. I am. You can bring over.
Yeah. Just to make it more comprehensible. But Sue, do you have any questions, or anybody on that wants to jump in and ask?
Just catching up here, but first of all, what are you drinking? Is that milk?
No, it's tea.
Oh, okay, it's tea. Very refreshing. Okay, no, just catching up here. I'm gonna hop in. Believe me, you're gonna want me to shut up in a little bit.
No problem. Yeah. So essentially, that's the idea behind it. Now, looking at intimacy in general, there's so many aspects of it and so many ideas behind it. And the main question that I usually get asked is, okay, so how do we learn to be intimate? Do we go into it as individuals? Do we learn it from a partner? And if we learn it from a partner, how do we know who to choose? And who is our soulmate? The whole concept of a soulmate.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that?
If I believe in that?
Do you believe in a soulmate?
Oh, yeah, of course. The Kabbalistic view of a soulmate is a very interesting one, because it's not the Hollywood version of a soulmate. Let's just say. So first of all, your soulmate doesn't have to be someone that is exceptionally gorgeous and is exactly your taste. The idea behind a soulmate, and if you want, I can go into the actual details of what the Kabbalah says about a soulmate.
Sure.
But essentially, a soulmate is, by Kabbalistic views, is someone that is assigned to you 40 days before conception. So 40 days before conception, there are two souls that have to be a part of the same unit, in a sense.
Is this what you believe?
Yeah, I practice it. I mean, that's what I practice in a.
So wait a minute. So you believe that your soulmate is somebody who was decided before you were even conceived?
Yes.
Woo!
And have you found that person?
I can say yes.
Okay.
So, I want to elaborate on this. After you finish your question, I'm gonna, make a side note about soulmates, just not to discourage anybody that doesn't feel.
No, the side note might negate my question. So I'm interested to hear about the side note.
So the side note is that yes, there are, and I'm giving the Kabbalistic views of this. So the side note is that there's a possibility that you're not going to find your soulmate, or that the physical conditions are not going to enable this. But if you do not, there's what they call soul match. So someone who is, good enough to serve as your partner, in a sense, to make it a very well-generated life, and one that will elevate your soul to the place that you want to be in. But go ahead and ask me. Yes.
So how do you know if it's your soulmate?
Yeah.
So that's exactly a good question. So how do you know if it's your soulmate? The thing is, nobody knows. We cannot tell. But there are a few things that we need to keep in mind in order to kind of decipher if this person is applicable, or the right kind of person for us. And that, in terms of the Kabbalistic views, they give us tools about how to really kind of understand. So there are different connections that start from different levels of soul, and I can go into it and kind of draw a little thing. But the bottom line is, as a reaction to you, as a response to your question, you cannot tell if this.
Okay. So So you say, do you have more powers than the regular person who does practices Kabbalah? Okay.
No,
So,
not because it's something learnable.
okay. So
It's something learned. Learned. You got to learn.
And certainly you're more learned than, of course, anybody here. So I'm just wondering, how do you know you've met your soulmate if nobody knows?
So
because of those levels that you spoke of?
Well, first of all, because of levels that I'm gonna put down and kind of show you how it works. Okay. But essentially, there are many factors that you need to take into account to examine if this person could be your soulmate. So these levels of connections, let's just say, before I even put it on. So Kabbalah speaks about different levels of soul. The lowest one, there are 5 levels of soul. So it's overwhelming because you're like, well, how many souls do we have? But essentially the lowest one is the one that is allegedly on top of our head. So if we equivalent this to the chakras, all the system that is related to Buddhism and chakras, are we familiar with chakras? Yes.
Yes.
So the crown chakra is very similar to the same, and it actually is called crown as well in the Kabbalistic tree of life, which I'm going to draw for you if you guys want to. So that level of crown, right above it, there's the first soul level. That soul level that touches your head is called body connection. So that's nefesh in Hebrew, unrelated. So
physical.
That's the physical connection. That's the first connection that you have with a partner, possibly. Right on top of it, there's an emotional connection. That's called ruach, spirit. That's the emotional connection. On top of it is an intellectual connection. So all these 3 connections, if someone achieves these 3 connections, you already have the level of soul match, in a sense.
Soul match, okay. And then there's 2 more levels.
And there's 2 more.
So what are those?
Levels, yes. So before I continue, these 3 levels are something that is transitory. In other words, it's not love forever. These 3 are very good in maintaining your relationship, but they're still transitory. They can alter, they can deteriorate. In a sense, you have to keep working on them.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, enough soothe for 1 minute. No, it's okay. It's okay. So there's some people here on the sides, Summer, for example, who absolutely does not believe in soulmates. So people who are like that, will they just not come to see you to learn about this, or will you?
No, I don't think they don't have to believe in soulmates. They don't have to, because they can practice their own spirituality regardless of a soulmate or regardless of the partner that is assigned for them. That's not the most important part.
Okay.
We're not having a discussion about the Kabbalistic connection. So we're talking about soulmates. But I have to say, not everybody that comes to my practice is being even concerned with soulmates. A lot of them just want to fix their problems, or a lot of them just want to treat a physical problem. It really doesn't have to be about soulmates.
Okay.
But if we started talking about this in particular, then we have these 3 levels, and then we have other 2 levels that are transcending, what you may call. Okay. So these 2 levels that are above it are kind of assuring that this relationship is everlasting, in a sense, because the connection is on a soul level that is less physical and more on a soul level, or more spiritual, in a sense. And in these practices, your partner needs to be someone, for instance, on the 4th level. Usually it's someone that you are so connected with, you find that even in an act of volunteering together somewhere or studying some new wisdom of something together is connecting you on such a strong level that no matter what happens on a physical basis, your souls are so connected, nothing can really harm it. And that's the secret, allegedly, by Kabbalistic views, of an everlasting relationship, in a sense.
Okay, that's insane and intense and amazing, because so many people, they can have a connect. So how do you define like that friendship, that difference between a soul connection friendship and then the next level of intimacy? Like, to me, they don't always go together.
So try to specify the question. You're talking, so your friend has to be, how do you get to the level where your friend is also someone who you enjoy intimacy with? That's the question.
I'm kind of trying to figure out some differences, because I feel like sometimes people will have, and Sue can probably speak to this more, but you can have a very physical relationship.
Right.
Have a
That's the first level that I mentioned.
Right. Okay.
Which would be phenomenal, but it's very short-lived.
Okay, so that one you're saying is very short-lived.
No, so it can be short-lived, she said.
Oh, can be short-lived. Okay.
Can be short-lived. Yeah, because the physical connection can be phenomenal, but then you are reliant on the fact that desire is short-lived, right, on the fact that novelty is something that us humans are in need of. All these factors that are very familiar to us. I mean, this is 101 of relationships. Yeah, we're so in love. We want to just eat each other up all day long. Then after 3 months, we're like, again, okay, whatever. So it's like we are, at least, you know, in my practice, what I see is that people are aiming to prolong this connection. How do we do this? Now, how do we do this without, let's just say, and I'm not, it's too big of a topic to go into multiple relationships versus monogamy. I'm not going to talk about this because it's such a vast to cover. But let's just try to stay within this place and say, I want a monogamous relationship with one man, one woman, and I want this monogamous relationship to be incredible, to be successful, to be long-lived, to be powerful, explosive. How do we maintain it? This is where Kabbalah comes in and says you have to elevate your soul to a level 4, or at least to, you know, attain all 3 levels. Because if, for instance, you base your relationship with this alleged soulmate or partner, whatever it is, on the basic of physical attraction, it's phenomenal, but it's not going to sustain.
Right.
So on that note, you know, sex is terrific, and I have to stop and say that Kabbalah sees sex as the most amazing factor in human connection. It doesn't frown upon it. It looks at it as the best way to put it. It looks at it as the act of creation on a micro level. Every time you have sex, you like a god creating.
I gotta say, so far, I am all aboard, and here's why. Because the person who said that they don't believe in soulmates, I guarantee you that the first 3 levels that she has that with her husband, and I guarantee she has the 4th. I'm dying to hear what the 5th is, because right now this is just practical. This is pragmatic. It makes sense.
So that would be Summer. And Summer, if you want to come in and tell your story, go right ahead.
Wait, I think we need to hear about the 5th level first.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the 5th level is the most challenging level to achieve. And Kabbalah looks at the 5th level as not an act of achieving or acting upon something, but an act of being. Oh. So in a sense, you're in the zone. Your relationship is an act of being. You're a one being with your partner.
Okay.
In a sense, because I related to the act of creation, this is achieving this level. And we're going to get a little into the biblical idea just to explain this. Okay. So Kabbalah looks at Adam and Eve, the first creation, or let me just say again, not Adam and Eve, but the first creature that was created. I'm not going to go into this, but in Genesis, there's 2 stories of creation. One is essentially that God created the creature. That creature has feminine and masculine. We are in the 5th level of soul connection, are supposed to go back to that level of connection where that creature had one side of a feminine face and on the other side a masculine face. This is how God created us, essentially by Kabbalah in the first time. But we're upgraded. Why? Because during the act of sex, we're not only merging into one body, and the Bible says they became one flesh, but I'm not going to go there. Not only that we're connected as one body, but we're facing face to face. The creature was the upside down. It was the other way around. So we are not only achieving something that was essentially created, but we're an upgrade of it. So this is how Kabbalah looks at sex. Sex is the most amazing, profound thing. And this is why casual sex, for instance, and again, no judgment by anybody or anything, but there's nothing casual about casual sex, because sex can never be casual. Real sex or real intimacy involves so much more of your soul than your body that it can never be casual.
That's
so, yeah. And what? Yeah, it is beautiful. And on an energetic level, a connection between two people having sex is an energetic level. It's an energy that is being sustained there. And if we were looking at this act as something that is just plain physical, we're disturbing the energy that's supposed to be there.
Liz, do you have a question?
This is Liz, everybody. Hi, Liz.
Liz.
Hey. Can you see that? Do you have a question or a statement?
I don't know if I'm supposed to be visible or if I'm supposed to be quiet on the side paying attention. So
you can ask a question if you want.
Ask anything. And
you have a question, you can be on the side if you want. But
how did you get into Kabbalah anyway? Like, how did that come about? Like, I know about Tantra, and I kind of get that comes from Middle Eastern practices. Where does the Kabbalah come from? And Middle Eastern meaning like Indian. I guess there's a much larger range than just the one.
Well, Kabbalah is a very old wisdom, and it's not related to a region or a religion or anything. I mean, I'm sure that some people will define it as Jewish mysticism. It's not. Maybe it's based on being written as originally by rabbis, but it's not the point of it. The point of it is, as I said, it's a wisdom that its tools can be utilized for anything, any spiritual growth. And I find that on a relational level, as what I have just explained, and in my workshops and everything, I give them an actual tool of how to use that tree of life, or how to use a lot of other factors that I'm going to mention in a few minutes, to kind of take these tools and actually practice them in their home or on a regular basis with their partners, or if they want to attain that partner. Because, we have to understand that these tools can be used as a couple, but also as an individual that is trying to get to the level of having that soulmate, soul match, whatever it is that you are trying to attain.
I have a question. So what about, you talked about, you did the two faces, the feminine and the, what about Adam and Steve? Can Adam and Steve achieve this?
Yes, Adam and Steve can also achieve this. Look, Kabbalah is not judgmental of gender, of choices of that form. It really doesn't matter. The idea is that you are connecting on a soul level. Now, again, when I'm saying this, I want to be very careful, because I want to say that different schools of Kabbalah will say different things. But what I'm practicing is modern Kabbalah. It's not anything that is based on something much, deeper on a religion level. I don't see this as something that, as I said, not related to religion or background or race or gender or anything at all. So yeah, Adam and Steve can also practice it, and Eve and Lilith can practice it as well, especially because there's nothing in the scripts that talk about, if at all, women practicing sexuality together are not even mentioned. So that's a given.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so can you show us your board, what you were going to show us, so I can sort of, it's a little bit complicated if you're just thinking.
Yeah, because we're just touching it on a very basic level right now. And it's such a large topic to try and, swallow. It's very hard.
You've written a bunch of books on it. Liz, do you have another question, or should I let you go?
Oh, I have no more questions. I'm good.
I'm so in here, though. Hey, if anyone wants to come in and ask questions about this, we're going to go a little deeper here and get a little bit more information. So if somebody wants to come in and ask a question, she's going to hang out over there. Okay.
Yeah, and Summer, you're very welcome. You seem like this doesn't resonate with you, which is fine. But a lot of people, look, it's a topic that you have to be familiarized with to understand, and that applies to any form of wisdom. Because if you take somebody that is completely unrelated to their spiritual path, and you give them a list of the chakras or a practice meditation of some form, they'll also say, "What is this bullshit?"
Right.
Complete bull. I don't understand what the hell we're doing here. Yes, of course, you have to be someone that is accepting of other aspects of life. And if you are someone that is open-minded, then you can understand how this can be applied. I want to say something additional. Okay, let me just try to explain to you. I'm going to have to move my little
So
bit.
before you do that, when you were back in the Israeli army and kicking some sweet ass, were you anywhere near this spiritual awakening?
No, not at all. Are you kidding?
Okay.
No. This takes a long. I think that, again, we come across our spiritual path from a necessity, I find, because overall if we didn't, if we're not some Buddhist monk that was raised this way, or, is very close to their spirituality, most of us in the Western world are not really connected to this. It's something that we need to acquire. Now, it is a climate nowadays, I find.
Yeah.
More people are spiritual. There's much more awareness. People are open to this and everything. But again, it's very branched. So you have to be, kind of open to something. And also you have to separate religion from spirituality, which is sometimes challenging for people. People
I have more orgasms if I do this more. If I connect more to my spiritual self,
yes,
will things work better? As an old lady, sorry, Sue, but I gotta say,
on a physical level.
On a physical level, and for any of my friends listening, any people, any viewers, you feel that if you can connect to this, then your innards will work better.
Yes, of course, because again, if you are, and I'm talking, you can talk on a personal level if you self-pleasure, of course, but you can talk, we're talking on a connection with a partner. So right. Of course, if you are connecting to a partner on a spiritual level, your physical practice has to benefit from it. Think about it. It's
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, this is what makes long-term relationships, sex, better than casual sex, for instance, because you know the person. You know what, gets them going. You know what they like. You know how to get to that. A lot of practices that have to do with that. So casual sex usually, and I'm talking on a level of gender, for instance. Women rarely climax in casual sex. And that's also statistics. So, why on earth would you want to practice this with someone if you don't enjoy it, you don't achieve climax, and at the end of it, you feel terrible? Let's just say that's the situation for many women. Why is that a positive thing?
Okay, so it all makes sense, and I do want you to show the tree of life and the board and all that. And if you, and this is not necessarily about me to my husband who's watching, but if a person has been in a relationship for a long time, you do have a connection, but how do you teach your clients to speak to their partner so that you can spiritually awaken together but not offend somebody? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Look, the idea is if you have a connection that is emotional, you remember the 3 levels that we defined. So if the connection is emotional, you already have this component of connection.
Right.
And you already have the ability not to walk on eggshells. Because if you are in a situation that you have to walk on eggshells, it's really not a good relationship.
Okay.
So if you do have the emotional connection, essentially everything that you can offer or suggest is something that will be welcomed by the other side. But what I suggest to my clients usually is to try and share an experience. For instance, if you share a specific meditation that I can show via the Tree of Life, or if you practice other things that have to do with the 72 names of God, I'm going to explain about this too if you want, which is another part of Kabbalistic practice. So if you use these tools, you can actually try to elevate your connection into that fourth connection, fourth component of soul connection. And from that point on, there's no maintenance, because as I said, the 3 first levels are maintenance required. And once you pass this threshold, this connection, sometimes you come across older couples where you see that they're just so connected, you don't even understand. It's amazing. It's very rare, but sometimes you come across it. And I feel on a personal level that when you see it, you really intuitively feel that they have that. Mm-hmm. They have that kind of connection.
So well, you said you found your soulmate, right? But so let's say that you currently aren't with a soulmate, all right? Are you very serious in your approach to dating, and do you kind of interview your Match.com date?
That's a very good question, and I have to say it's a great question also, because me being a doctor of sexuality, I get this question in regards to sex. Do you interview your partners? Do you give them a coaching before they get in bed? All these things. So essentially, I wouldn't say I interview my potential partners. I used to interview my potential partners, but I would say that I won't go on a date with someone that from our initial conversation doesn't seem like we have a connection. For instance, if I'm talking to somebody and it happened, in the past, and either all they're interested in is a picture of mine, or let me just be very delicate here, or
no, don't be delicate.
Don't be delicate.
That's not interesting.
Or someone that is in real need to elaborate on their great attributes. In a nutshell,
okay, yeah, right.
Happened to me many
That's
times.
gross. Yeah.
So immediately, this person is disqualified, because there's no way I can have a good connection.
I hear that.
Someone of that sort. So you kind of know.
But does this cut out the silliness then at the beginning? I like to be silly. Make fun of things, and but this seems very serious.
Silliness is cute, but being, stuck on something that is not that, silliness is fine because it's cute and it's entertaining, and it's, it's a part of it. I'm not a serious person. I mean, I'm not a serious person. I'm a serious person when it comes to practicing, maybe with my clients.
Okay, yeah.
But essentially, I'm a very, I love laughing and, doing silly things with my partner. That's not
okay.
But to find your soulmate or soul match, whatever it is, you kind of need to understand that this person is someone that you need to, or you want to at least, spend many years.
All right, so how do we get it?
All right, so to the chase. What are you talking about?
I'm with I'm here. I'm ready. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do we? It's like, I know there's like levels.
Yeah.
So what?
Levels.
What did you want?
Well, I'm saying, like, let's do it. Let's get
Let's
there.
go
somewhere. Let's elevate.
Okay, so let's just say I'm gonna draw the Tree of Life for you just quickly, just to kind of. I just took my little dog down. Okay, so I'm gonna have to turn you around. Yeah, I feel like I'm like
Looking good.
Looking good, yes.
I'm down. Red string and all.
okay. So now we have, so the tree of life is essentially like the chakra system. It's very similar to it. So we have 10, this doesn't, right?
When you said that you met your soulmate, were you referring to me?
You're right here.
Oh,
Okay.
that's awesome.
Tree of life.
Are you single? Are you?
Go. Go, Rivka. Sug.
Sug's always available.
These are okay. So the chakras are
Available
7,
for fun.
line 7. Here we have 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm not gonna. So this is crown. I'm not gonna go into the names because it's less important. But the idea behind it is that if we meditate on this and we take, now in the tree of life, we're going only in this direction. So it doesn't go like with the chakras that we can go from the bottom up and from the top down, all these things. In the tree of life, we're actually meditating only from the top to the bottom. So when we go through the stages, we're going from, we see this structure. I'm going to turn again because I just wanted to. So we see this structure, and
Hot.
we are,
Woo!
hold on.
Hot Kabbalah.
So we see this structure, and we're going from the top to the sides, going like this, like water, the way it flows, all the way from the top to the bottom. Now there's different levels, and every one of these circles that I showed is related to a certain both part, and that's just in significance, just to be able to kind of touch it. But essentially, it's a more spiritual practice. So, for instance,
So how do you, like, can we do like a meditation? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Meditation look like?
Yeah, what does it look
No,
like?
is that a meditation?
What did you say? To do the meditation?
Okay.
Yes, Rivka, ask again.
Yes. To do the meditation.
How do you do the meditation?
Yeah.
So essentially what you need to do is, well, you need a little familiarity with the tree of life, what I just drew, or you can have a picture of it and kind of peek into it again and again. But essentially what you do is you go from the top, and then as you saw, there are 2 sides here, there are 2 sides here, all the way down. Now, the trick behind Kabbalah is that the side, all these circles that are on the right side are masculine. All the circles that are on the left side are feminine. The idea behind it is, while you meditate, is you connect the circles between the masculine and the feminine. That can influence your spiritual ability to connect to your partner and to connect to the masculine and feminine within you. Because the idea, as I said, behind soulmates is that both of us, all of us have both ends of it, the feminine and the masculine, but we're trying to find our soulmate because he or she hold that other part of us, that other part that can complement our soul. That's the idea behind it.
Does that make
So should we do it? Should we do a meditation?
Sure.
We can do meditation, but we have to, okay, I can show
I don't think we have enough time.
Well,
We
we can
don't?
try. We have a few minutes. We can try.
We could do a
Okay.
baby one. Like a
Yeah,
baby
all right, let's go.
meditation.
Okay, you guys, what we're gonna do, so to do this, because you guys are less familiar with the tree of life, I want you to close your eyes, and I'm just gonna direct you where to touch, without thinking, where to touch around your body so you can feel the energy.
Okay.
Okay? So let's take a deep breath in and release. 2 more times. Deep in
I hope you guys are all doing this who are watching the show.
and release. Okay. Keep your eyes closed. Put one hand on your
Jill, you're a cheater.
one hand on your stomach, the other one on top of your head. And
Okay, I have one hand on my abs and one hand on my head.
right.
Because he's cut like that.
Okay, so we're starting from the crown. Hold your hand on top of your head. Then slowly move it to the right side of your face. Take another breath. Move it to the left side of your face. Take another breath. Move it to your throat. Another breath. Move it to your right shoulder. Take a breath. Move it to your left shoulder. Another breath. Put your hand on your chest.
On your chest?
Yes. Take another breath. Move your hand to your right thigh.
Mm-hmm.
Another breath to your left thigh. Another breath just below your abdomen.
Mm.
And now take this energy and lift it all the way back up to your crown. Okay, open your eyes. Essentially, this is just the beginning of it. And once you know the names behind the tree of life in all these circles that I mentioned, then you can use the names because names have power. Uttering something has the power to really change things. You know this, on all levels from different practices. So essentially, once you know this, you take the crown, this one is called wisdom, this one is called understanding. You move it around and then you gather all this energy again and again. Then you become kind of pro in this and it just moves around. Now, the idea is, as I said, to grab your masculinity and femininity on both ends and kind of merge them like you do when you have sex with your partner.
Okay. Now, if you had people in your office, a couple, would you have them do this together, this meditation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they can even practice it on one another. So, for instance, they can sit right in front of the other, very much like what I explained about the first initial creature and the merging that we have. This is why, for instance, Kabbalah is advocating the missionary position for men and women, because then you face to face. This is the idea behind it, just as a nugget. But essentially, if a couple sits together and they can move their energy for one another, the one partner can touch the other on their forehead, on their right hand, right face, left face, all these things. You do it, simultaneously for one another. It can be a very profound and intense experience.
Can it make you hornier? Mike is saying that we're supposed to have an orgasm during that. That would be a no, correct?
You mean like a Kundalini kind of experience?
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what you meant, kind of similar to Kundalini experience?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yes, it can be attained, but that takes practice. It's not something that is easy to attain. And again, these things are something that need to be practiced and need to be learned in order to, kind of be good at. But that's any practice. The thing
Can
is
I ask
that
you a question?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, are you familiar with so there's the counting of the Omer in the Jewish tradition right now?
Of course.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. Every day, or I guess every week, every day there's a different energetic place, which is, you know, connected. Do you ever do meditations with that, like the
that are related to the Omer?
I don't share it, but like yesterday was, yeah.
Yeah, so
Corresponding
this is
to the
exactly what
level.
it is. Tiferet, what you said, is a part of the tree of life. So essentially, yes, that's exactly what it is. I just didn't write the names within the tree of life. If we could put pictures here, I would have uploaded a picture. But essentially, that's the idea. Tiferet is a part of the tree of life. As I said, we have 10 sfirot, it's called, numbers, or, you know, counting, you can translate it is. But the idea is, yes, you go through these stages to achieve a certain spiritual enlightenment. And via this enlightenment, you're supposed to really enhance your ability both physically, sexually, emotionally, relationally, on all levels. But as I mentioned very briefly, there's also another meditation that is very common with Kabbalistic teachings, which is called the 72 Names of God. And within these teachings, essentially just to make it very comprehensible, how does this work on a spiritual level, very much like on a subatomic level. So we all know that the DNA is comprised of nucleotides that are A, C, T, G. They all really kind of decide of what features we have. So the combination of these nucleotides is what is what really comprises our features or who we are. Very similarly, with the 72 names of God, we have combinations of 3 letters, for instance, usually in Hebrew. And you don't have to know Hebrew for this. It's just considered a holy language, but the holy tongue. But the idea is we take these 3 letters and we meditate on them. And that meditation on these letters is in a very similar manner to changing DNA. It can change your soul DNA in a sense. And that can really be applied to simply anything. If you are dealing with ailment or physical dysfunction, or if you're dealing with something that is emotional, or you want to achieve prosperity, or you want to achieve, you know, a healthy relationship, or whatever it is, it can be applied to anything at all.
Wow. Okay, so that I can't believe this hour has flown by.
I know. It was so good. There's so much more to talk about, but essentially very fascinating and, you know, just an experience.
And did you say that you have written, that you're on your 3rd book about this?
I'm on my 4th book currently. This book is in particular has to do with Kabbalah and intimacy. And hopefully, you know, it will be released within, I don't know, the coming year. And well, the idea behind the book is really to try and make it like a 101 for someone that doesn't have familiarity with this. Because you really don't have to be an expert to practice it. You just have to kind of acquire the tools. And they're fairly easy to be acquired as long as you kind of know the basics. If you ask anybody that practices the chakra system, so they looked at it a few times, they understood what it means and where the locations are, and then they can practice it. Similarly, you can do this with Kabbalah.
So do you want to tell people how they can reach you if they're interested?
Yes, of course. So my website is the easiest way to reach me, which is drlimor.com. So drlimor.com. And essentially, I don't really have a lot of social media. I don't have time to deal with this, but I have a Facebook page. That's about it. But the best way to reach me is really my website.
Okay. Well, we have had a great
Dr.
learning.
Limor,
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, Sue.
what celebrity besides yourself do people say you look like the most?
It's embarrassing. Do you want me to really say?
I know the answer to this, but go.
I know the answer too. Yeah.
So who is it?
Angelina Jolie, I get a lot.
Yes, that's the one.
I agree.
Hey,
Thank you.
DeGeneres. I get Ellen DeGeneres. I think I'd rather be Angelina Jolie.
Funny enough, I get Ellen DeGeneres as well.
She's pretty.
No, usually we do 2 truths, 1 lie, but it became 8 o'clock, and I forgot to even tell her to think of it. But yes, I really appreciate this, and I want people to know that you can meet your soulmate, and
Yes, you can. You can. And you can enhance your relationship if you choose to as well with the current person that you have if you are happy in this relationship. Seriously, it really is attainable. It's not a myth and it's not a fantasy.
see, guys, I stopped the broadcast because